A simple, cost-effective way to improve your home is by adding window casing. My wife and I live in a mid-1980s house, and we're going to walk you step by step so you can do it yourself. This is it before we caulk and paint. I have 3 1x2s, 3 1x4s, 1 1x6, 1 1x3, and a decorative, and that's all you'll need. Start by removing any existing windowsill or trim that might be present. What I did was used a putty knife to remove any of the caulk, and then I used a pry bar to get the wood away from the wall. It's gonna look worse before it looks better, so don't freak out or anything, but this is what I just pulled out of mine. So got all that stuff cleaned out. But yeah, from that moisture, I gotta figure out how to kind of seal this. See outside through that little gap. The first one is the 1x6, and so for that, what I did was I took off the existing windowsill just to see the depth and then where the little cutover starts at. This is ultimately what I'm looking for, is this. And then I'll just go over about 5 inches. I'll just get a measuring tape. I'm gonna start with this guy. That's the shape I'm going for. I'm gonna do it on both sides. All right, so this is the first board, which is essentially just replacing this existing one. So as you can see, it's wider, so it's gonna come out further, and then it's gonna extend out further on the sides, so it'll look a little bit better. But I gave about 5 to 5.5 inches on each side. It doesn't really matter, just be consistent. Wood expanding and tracks, I think I'll cut off a little bit more of it. Just a tad. When I say just a tad, I'm literally gonna take off like that amount. I just wanna show, like, after I tried to recut, I didn't do it perfect. So the caulk is gonna be just fine in the end. You won't even notice. They had previously had these things. It doesn't matter what you use. I'm using shims, and we're just getting it propped up there. That's it. One thing I didn't fully show is that I added some butyl tape to the back upper edge of the 1x6 to help create a seal. This is to ensure that no moisture was going to come in from the outside. And then I also went outside of my house on the other side of the window and re-caulked the window properly, just to ensure that this work would be protected and it wasn't going to be something I have to repeat in the near future. Okay, not perfect. Not perfect at all, but good enough. Okay, these are just shims. My cat loves the update already. So the first board, the 1x6, get 2-inch brad nails. If you don't have a brad nailer, this thing is awesome. I've used it for so many house projects. Child lock on. I'm just gonna do this right into the shim, honestly. I'll just measure this again just to ensure that everything's gonna be the right height. So I'm using 1x4s on the sides as well as the top. So I'm just gonna cut those. As I just measured, it said 59 3/8. Let's do that. These go right here. And right here. And that height looks pretty dang good. It's 50 inches exactly. 1x4s all the way around. 1x6 down here because it was what was inserted. These are for the sides, like this. And then why it goes a bit taller is simply because we're gonna have another one going across the top. So I just want to make sure that size is literally perfect right there. I love that. So I'll have to secure this in a second. Brad nailer, same process. In this step, you're going to want to turn the 1x2 on its side. So the 1-inch side is touching the wall. And then you're going to brad nail through the 1x2s into the 1x4s that you've already installed in the previous step around the window. Alrighty, now we got to do the top one. Now I'm measuring from end to end, outside to outside, because the bottom piece we're going to put on, we want it to line up with those outside edges. Alright, the last board we got to cut. 1x3, 51.5 inches what we're going for. So this is the last board that's going in here, the 1x3. I'm just lining it up. So to eliminate this gap, I'm gonna brad nail it, but you can either have some push down on it. We just got these clamps, so I'm just gonna utilize this to narrow that gap, and then I'll do the same over here. Brad nail into it several times. Okay. And if I release this, and then we'll just add some here. And there we go. And the last piece you're gonna have to cut is just gonna be a little accent. I was previously using 2-inch brad nails, and I'm switching to 1-inch for this trim because it's very small. Now I'm just gonna point out any imperfections. This wasn't cut perfectly. Stuff in here that you can't see wasn't cut perfectly. This will need to be caulked. This will need to be caulked. Slight gaps, it's all good. It ends up being just fine, so don't overthink anything. The last step my wife and I did was to caulk and paint. So we just caulked any of the gaps that were there or any of the holes from the brad nail gun. We did a couple coats of paint, and then we still had to do touch-ups and whatnot from, getting white on the green wall and vice versa. All right, here is the finished casing. Ended up turning out real nice.